Okay, my name is Sarah Thompson, and I was part of the Special Events Group 2, and we analyze beer weeks and special events for the Dram Shop. So let's get started. So these are the four main questions that we looked at during our analysis, and for the purpose of keeping this brief, I'm just going to dive right in. So first we looked at how beer weeks have performed over the years, and this is all based off of net sales. 2018 is in black, 2017 is in turquoise, and 2016 is in gray. So overall, it looks like 2018 hasn't been as successful as 2017 for these events. It is important to note that Oktoberfest in 2018 was only one day compared to a week in 2017. And Saison Week has been successful here in 2018. Okay, so let's look at beer weeks. We wanted to know if featured beer weeks impacted the sales of that specific beer in subsequent weeks. So what we did was we took the average weekly net sales of the 52 subsequent weeks and we compared that to the net sales during the beer week and during the 4 subsequent weeks after the beer week. And what we found is that the answer depends. For stout, wheat, Belgium, and sour beer, you could see an impact in the subsequent weeks on net sales, but for cider and saison, you only saw the impact during the beer week and not so much in subsequent weeks. So let's take a look. Okay, so this is cider week, and the black line is the prior weekly average. So you can see that during cider week, sales are above average, but in the subsequent weeks, they actually drop below average. Saison week, sales were really high during the beer week, but in the subsequent weeks, they dropped right to the average. For stout beer week, you can start to see an impact in the subsequent weeks. Week 1, 2, and 3 are above average, and then week 4 totally drops off. However, that is also Belgium beer week in week 4, so that could be the reason why. For wheat week, you can see the impact of the featured beer week during the actual wheat week, and for the 4 subsequent weeks, all of the net sales are above the prior weekly average. Belgian beer week also has an impact on the subsequent weeks of Belgian beer sales in week 1, 2, especially week 3 and week 4. And then sour beer week as well. You can see the impact, especially in weeks 1, 3, and 4, which is really interesting. But weeks 1 through 4 were all above average. So for flight sales, we wanted to look at when the Dram Shop sells more flights to help them with the staffing implications of pouring those individual glasses. So these are some definitions that are useful when looking at the analysis. So first off, we wanted to see when flights sell. So this is a depiction of what events sell the most flights over time. And in 2018, tap takeovers, beer weeks, and other just normal days commanded an equal portion of flight sales. So do beer-related events increase flight sales? Definitely. During beer events, 6.5 flights are sold on average per day. And on days with no beer event, about 0.7 flights are sold per day. So definitely a huge increase on days with either a tap takeover or beer week. Beer events account for 25% of the days that the Dram Shop is open and generate 72% of flight sales. And also, the majority of flights are sold between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. So if Zach is interested in increasing staff to help pour all these flights, definitely could consider increasing them on these beer event days between 4 and 10 p.m. And flights are increasing all around. In 2018, there's a 7% increase in flight sales on days with a beer event and 135% increase on days with no beer event. So about 1.7 flights selling per day on days with no beer events in 2018. And flight sales are increasing overall. When you look at net sales for 2018, that blue line is the target to meet the 2017 net sales, and the Dram Shop is 12% above that target. So for First Fridays, we wanted to see if the Dram Shop sells more beer on Fridays with the art openings. So these are the lists. This is the list of the 17 First Fridays the Dram Shop has hosted that had live art openings. And all the way to the right, you can see that the majority of the numbers here are positive. This is a comparison between net sales on those First Fridays and net sales of the 3-month Friday average. So the majority of numbers are positive, meaning that net sales on these days with art openings are above average. So this is a depiction of that. The horizontal line is the 3-month Friday average sales, and then the vertical bars are the individual Friday events, and the majority of them are above the average. And this is the same thing is true for the number of sales. So you can see the majority of the bars are above the average for number of sales on these, or number of transactions on these First Friday events. And these are the top 3 First Friday events of all time. And this is our little PS Professor Chandler analysis. In 2016, he was ranked 86, and in 2018, he was ranked 5th. So doing pretty good, moving up the line. And that's it. Thank you so much, and